It was my sophomore year at As a psychology major, I spent countless hours at our massive 6th-floor campus library. The basement level held the archives and was usually deserted. While working on a research paper, I claimed a secluded corner desk on the 4th floor, tucked between tall bookshelves with a small window overlooking the campus. After 3 days of marathon study sessions, I noticed something odd. Whenever I stepped away, I'd return to find things slightly different. My textbook opened to a new page, or my notebook moved. I initially dismissed it as stress-induced absent-mindedness. On the 4th day, I left for 5 minutes and returned to find a note scribbled in the margin of my outline. "You missed something important on page 217. The handwriting wasn't mine. It was angular and aggressive. Checking page 217. I found a paragraph about dissociative identity disorders underlined with a small smiley face next to it. I relocated to a busier area and made sure to never study alone again, but the feeling of being watched persisted. A week later, I was working late after my study partner left at midnight. The library was nearly empty. Typing at a public computer, I received an email with the subject line, "Behind you." The sender's address was a random string of numbers and letters. I turned around slowly, heart racing. Teen. No one was there, just empty desks and dim lighting. Teen. When I looked back at my screen, I noticed the email had an attachment. It was a photo of me, taken from behind, at that very computer, not 2 minutes earlier. I ran out, forgetting my jacket, and called campus security, escorted me to my dorm, and promised to check the security footage. 3 days later, campus police informed me they had identified the culprit, a graduate student in forensic psychology who had become fixated on several female students. They found dozens of photos of different students on his laptop, along with detailed notes about our routines. Most disturbing was learning he had been hiding in the library after hours, sometimes sleeping in the restricted archives section. Security never checked thoroughly before locking up. He was expelled and faced stalking charges, but I never felt comfortable in the library again. I transferred to another university the following semester. To this day, I can't study with my back to an open room. When I first met Derek, he seemed like the perfect freshman roommate, quiet and with similar interests. Our small dorm room had twin beds on opposite walls and desks by the window. Derek was a biology major who spent most evenings at the science building. I appreciated having the room to myself most nights. About 2 months into the semester, Derek started returning around 2 or 3 a.m., carrying heavy black duffel bags. Assumed it was lab equipment. One night in October, I woke at 4 a.m. to find Derek at his desk with a small lamp on. I pretended to sleep, but watched through barely open eyes as he arranged small bones on a cloth while wearing latex gloves. He kept glancing at my bed to check if I was still asleep. The following weekend, Derek went home to visit family. Curiosity got the better of me, and I searched his closet. Inside the duffel bags, I found surgical tools, scalpels, forceps, and jars of clear liquid. The second bag contained something worse, dozens of specimen jars with preserved animal parts, eyes, paws, and unidentifiable organs. When Derek returned, I casually asked about his biology projects. He deflected with vague answers about specimen collection. For research, his behavior grew increasingly strange, covered his desk with a black cloth during his night work. Sometimes I'd wake to find him standing in the middle of the room, staring at me in the darkness. The breaking point came when my hoodie disappeared, only to reappear days later stuffed in my desk drawer, smelled of chemicals, and had a small cut along the sleeve, carefully sewn back together with surgical thread. That night, I searched his side while he was out. Under his mattress, I found a notebook with detailed dissection drawings, not just of animals, but what looked like human anatomy. Most disturbing were pages with locks of hair taped to them, labeled with initials and dates. One had my initials. The next morning, I showed photos of the notebook to our resident advisor. Campus security searched our room and confiscated Derek's belongings. The investigation revealed he had been stealing specimens from the biology department, including preserved animals and human tissue samples. They also found personal items from other students' hair, nail clippings, and stolen ID cards hidden in a hollowed-out textbook. Derek was expelled and underwent psychological evaluation. I later learned he'd been kicked out of another college for similar behavior, but his parents had managed to keep it quiet. The college was known for its Gothic architecture and prestige. Beneath the campus ran an extensive network of maintenance tunnels, some dating back to the 1800s. As a junior studying architectural history, I was fascinated by these off-limits tunnels. Friend Marcus, a campus maintenance worker, finally agreed to take me and to Frenzella and Jason on an unofficial tour one Friday night. We met behind the science building at 11 p.m. Marcus gave us flashlights and warned, "These tunnels are like a labyrinth. People have gotten lost down here." The entrance revealed a staircase descending into darkness. The air smelled of damp concrete and something metallic and stale. The main tunnel was lined with pipes and electrical conduits. Marcus explained how the oldest sections dated to the 1890s. 20 minutes in, we reached a junction splitting 3 ways. The left tunnel leads to the dormitories, the right to the library, and the middle one is older, connecting to renovated parts of campus. We chose the middle path. The tunnel narrowed, modern pipes giving way to rusted systems and crumbling brick walls. We found a wooden door set into the wall, which Jason pushed open. Inside was what looked like an old office with ancient filing cabinets and a rotting desk. Ella examined a document that appeared to be experimental logs from the 1970s, containing clinical notes about psychological experiments with references to sleep deprivation and memory modification protocols. As we were reading, we heard a low, guttural moan from deeper in the tunnels, not mechanical, but distorted in a way that didn't sound human. Marcus insisted we leave immediately. As we turned, Jason's flashlight caught a drawing scratched into the brick wall, depicting stick figures in what looked like cages. We hurried back, but got lost at a junction. "This doesn't look right," Marcus said. "The tunnels seemed different than we remembered." Our flashlights began to flicker as we heard that inhuman moan again, closer this time. We chose another path and moved faster as the tunnel sloped downward. The air grew colder and filled with a fetid smell. After what felt like hours, we spotted a green exit sign. We found ourselves at a stairwell with a chain door that we managed to force open. We emerged in an overgrown courtyard behind the old psychology building on the opposite side of campus from where we'd entered. It was 4:30 a.m. We'd been in the tunnels for over 5 hours. The next day, I researched the psychology building. In the 1970s, the department had received government funding for research into human adaptation to stress and isolation, terminated in 1976 following an undisclosed incident. When I inquired about the tunnels, the historical preservation administrator insisted no tunnels connected to the psychology building. That section had supposedly been filled in decades ago. A week later, a construction fence appeared around the courtyard where we'd emerged. Marcus was transferred to another department and stopped responding to my messages. During my senior year at I needed one more humanities credit and found a spot in philosophical perspectives on death. Meeting Wednesday evenings in the oldest campus building had survived a fire in the 1960s that killed 3 students and a professor. The building maintained its original dark wood paneling and dim lighting. Our professor was an elderly man with thick glasses who explained the course would explore how different cultures approach death. I soon noticed strange things. Room 307 was always freezing cold, despite the warm September weather. Would trail off mid-sentence and stare blankly out the window for uncomfortable periods. By the third week, our class had dwindled to 10 students. During the fifth week, I arrived to find the classroom lit only by candles, with students sitting in a circle instead of at desks. Announced, "Tonight, we will bridge the gap between philosophical theory and practical experience." He led us through a guided meditation, while chanting in an unknown language. The room grew so cold, I could see my breath. One student, Emma, began speaking in an unfamiliar voice, describing a long corridor with a red door at the end where they were waiting. Suddenly, the candles flickered and a window slammed open. Kima fell unconscious. Dr. Harmon dismissed class early, as if nothing unusual had happened. Leaving, I noticed a small plaque on the door, in memory of Professor and the students of Philosophy 340 lost in the fire of 1964. Research confirmed that Professor had died in the 1964 fire while conducting a philosophical experiment with his seminar. All 16 people in room 37 had perished. A photo from 1963 showed Professor looking identical to our down to the distinctive glasses and body. The university directory had no listing for and room 37 was officially used for storage. Yet, the following Wednesday, the room was open with Dr. Harmon arranging chairs in a circle. During the meditation, I saw shadows moving along the walls and smelled smoke. Then I saw them, transparent figures forming a circle around us, 16 in total, their faces contorted in pain. As I fled, I glimpsed his face momentarily shift to reveal charred skin and an empty eye socket behind his glasses. I withdrew from the course immediately. None of the other students appeared in the university system when I searched for them. Years later, an alumni newsletter mentioned demolition. Workers had found items sealed behind a false wall in room 37, including philosophy books, thick glasses, and Professor journal. The journal detailed an experimental course designed to let students experience death without dying. The last entry, dated the day of the fire, mentioned they were finally ready to open the red door.